Thanks, Buhle. A well-known South African visual artist recently opened his first independent solo exhibition at Rosebank's Keys Art Mile to show his most recent body of work. Now, to develop his particular style, he uses delicate variations of water-based media coupled with layered textures and mark-making. In his work, the artist represents nature's beauty and sceneries, influenced by his home in Johannesburg, untamed regions further afield, and, of course, some journeys. Visual artist Mpho Sithole joins us now in studio with some masterpieces. Very good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Your first solo exhibition. How incredible is that? How does it feel?
Hi, Mpho, and thanks for having me on your show. Wow, let me just say it's humbling and exciting. Two words in the same sentence, of totally different emotions. Yeah, it's been a journey. It's been a journey, Mpho. I've been in the art industry for years. I mean, since I left high school, my only what would I say? My only journey, the only journey that I saw for myself was in the making of art. You know, being a visual artist specifically, you know. So, well, man, what you ask is what you get sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And we can see it in your work. I mean, right next to you there is a masterpiece, layered with textures and character, speaking to some message. I mean, what are you conveying in your artwork, especially as you tell a story through texture and sketching?
Okay, so, I mean, within the work that I do, so my studies have been quite varied. In the beginning of when I sort of came, because originally I'm from Eswatini. That's the country where I was born. Okay. But for, I'd say, economic reasons, I'm both half Swazi, half South African, but more Swazi. So economic situations and reasons brought me into Johannesburg. I mean, I realized, okay, this is where I'd really want to set up my career if it's going to become anything. And then, so the early stage of when I reached Joburg was to work a lot around portraits. So my story there, it sort of gravitated for many reasons and ended up with one subject matter, which I became known for, well, quite well in the circles, you know, which was the head wrapped African woman, right? Done in my own personal style and also reflecting a lot of my own what would I say, ideologies. Yeah. Yeah, my view of the African woman, and so on and so forth. So that's basically how I would explain like a part of the work. But then it has evolved, and I feel like what we have now as a show is really a lot more exciting, because I think an artist should grow, right? So I've tried to avoid stagnation by leveling up with this show, especially, you know, explored all the aspects that I'm actually about, so that it's not like people get stuck on the one way that they see my work, right? Yeah. So
the abstract version of the African woman has now come out in many other versions. With the use of your technique, let's talk about your technique and what it embodies when you're trying to deliver this piece of art that tells a story.
Okay, so the technique, it can be classified in the lines of abstract expressionistic. So it's expressionist, it's gestural. It uses the body in its creation, you know. A lot of people have even expressed my work as, but I think these are just artistic terms, you know, violent, emotional, whatnot.
But of course, artwork does trigger some emotion. So, I mean, it's with reason that people could describe it as emotional and violent. I mean, looking at the textures and the movement of the painting there.
It definitely reflects. So I always say art. An artist is a very strange sort of character, personality, and trade, because if a psychologist is introduced into the picture, art and psychology are almost inseparable.
Yeah.
They'll tell you that, you see, so in this stage Picasso was in a sad mood, you know, just simply by analyzing what is on the canvas and the way that those strokes have been made. The subject matter, they might say, you know, at this time maybe Picasso was in love, you know, maybe the subject matter could say something about his own state of mind. And not only the artist himself, but society, the society around the artist at that particular time. So if there's violence and there's looting and there's people being killed outside, generally it'll come out in the. So
what are you reflecting here? Let's focus on this piece of artwork on your side there. Okay. Tell us what it's called and what messages you're essentially trying to convey.
Okay, cool. Okay, so on this piece, Mpho, I worked with a model. Now she became the subject and the story of the artwork. Yeah. So this is a very spiritual lady by the name of Zamanisi. All right. Spiritual healer, African spirituality type vibe. And then, so while working on it, inspired by her personality as well, how she... Okay, it's a bit of a long story about her, but then let's go to the artwork. Yeah. So the artwork, like this piece, I named it Mlende Ngamunye. So Mlende Ngamunye, uyafana ngathi labanye bangathi ngumveli nqandi. So it's an African, many Southern African way of saying God. Umveli nqandi, umlende ngamunye ngeSiswati. So this is like the title of the piece is the one-legged God. Basically, Mlende Ngamunye in Siswati means one-legged God. All right. So I think there was just a reflection because I mean especially with this piece, I'd say it was a reflection of her deep spirituality. So now back to what we were talking about, to say art will always reflect what is surrounding you.
Absolutely. Yeah. So how much would a piece to that size and those dimensions, what are we looking at price-wise?
Send me a DM.
But I know like 55,000 Rand could get me some piece of art. Is it this one there or that one there? If people are watching and they want to buy, I mean, what are we looking at here?
What are we looking at? Look, prices are very sensitive, Mpho. But as you say, if you give me a call with 50K, we can start talking.
Okay, where are we talking? Down here or up there?
No, we're still down here.
Okay, thank you so much. Thanks for coming through.
Thank you very much.
Wonderful work, really, really inspirational. Mbongeni Fakudze, visual artist there, speaking to his first solo exhibition, which is underway, of course, showcasing his incredible work. It brings us